I knew from the minute I read that script there was something different about it. And so...
what was it? What was it? Just funny? Or?
It was vignettes. I had never seen a show with vignettes. Seinfeld had vignettes. But the Seinfeld vignettes don't feel like the Friends vignettes. Because the Seinfeld vignettes are the people against the world, where the Friends vignettes are the interrelationships of the characters.
That was James Burrows, who has directed an inordinate amount of sitcoms. I was originally going to make a joke about that since he seems so grumpy here, but then I realized Jennifer Aniston would never forgive me. And after further analysis, I don't actually think he is grumpy. I think he's got one of those sense of humors where the sarcasm is super saturated, so you can't always tell when he's making a joke. And if the ladies have a hard time understanding my sarcasm, I can only imagine what it's like for our boy here. I mean, listen to this.
Yeah, we did 2 pilots for Big Bang. The first one was, we had the 2 same boys, same characters, Sheldon and Leonard. They're walking down the street and they meet a girl on the stoop. They take her in to live with them, and the girl was a hooker. So, for some reason that didn't work.
Like, he's gotta mean that with some levity, right? Anyways, apparently he's actually a genius and definitely had a big hand in shaping Friends and Frasier and Big Bang Theory, so respect. Also, Jennifer Aniston speaks very highly of him, so automatically you gotta trust the guy. Let's go back to what he said at the beginning of the video though, it's important stuff.
It was vignettes.
This was him talking about what drew him so strongly to the pilot script for Friends. And even though he's talking about sitcoms, what he says here is key for all pilots, sitcoms or not. Actually, forget about pilots, this is key for stories in general. That is, if what he said makes any sense at all, which I'm not sure it does. It's almost like listening to someone speak a foreign language that you kind of know, so you don't really understand what they say to you, but you want to believe that you do, so you tell yourself you understood everything perfectly. I'm talking about when he said vignettes, by the way. Vignettes, 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 vignettes. See, it kind of sounds like Russian. My foreign language analogy was spot on. The point is, he's talking about how Friends' vignettes impressed him a lot, but it's not clear what that means. Let's look this up together. Let's do a Google search field trip, all of us. Vignette, a brief evocative description, account, or episode. So when he says Friends has great vignettes, he could really mean anything. I have no idea what he's talking about, but that's where we tell ourselves we totally understand what he's saying and we fill in the blanks on our own. So let's define vignette in the context of what he probably means. Vignette, keeping it simple, a powerful scene. But since we're all real ones here, let's keep it real. A powerful scene or very spicy scene. I'm talking about Rachel here. So, vignettes, 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 vignettes. They're the name of the game. People say structure is a big deal with sitcoms, so if you're going to write a sitcom pilot, people are going to be telling you about structure. They're going to say this needs to happen, then this needs to happen, then this happened, then blah 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 blah. Honestly, I think structure kind of forms naturally. We tell stories all the time without plotting out their structure beforehand, so I say don't worry about it too much. If you need to, just copy the beats of another sitcom and how the stories weave together, or just let it come naturally as the story you're telling unfolds. But vignettes, that's what you gotta do. Structure is structure, but vignettes, take it from our main man James, that's what sells. So let's talk about Frasier's pilot, because honestly, I don't think it has too many vignettes, but it does have one very evocative scene. The scene that actually helped me understand what James was talking about when he said vignette. And it's this scene right here.
8 months ago, my boyfriend and I broke up, and I just can't get over it. It's almost like I'm in mourning or something.
You are in mourning, but you're not mourning the loss of your boyfriend. You're mourning the loss of what you thought your life was going to be. Let it go. Things don't always work out how you plan. That's not necessarily bad.
Frasier's pilot has structure, I guess. It does all the normal pilot stuff. It introduces the characters, the setting, conveys some exposition in a clever way, sure. But obviously it does those things. Those are kind of givens and pretty intrinsic and necessary pieces of telling a story. So it doesn't set Frasier apart from the rest. It's the vignette. This vignette that we just saw, that's what sells this show to me. That's what makes me want more. But it might not be this scene for you. I saw this episode at a time when I too, like the caller at the end, was mourning the loss of what I thought my life was going to be. I thought I was about to have a really hot girlfriend. That didn't happen. So hearing Frasier speak on that and give advice on moving forward was huge, and I couldn't wait to hear the next piece of advice he might have. And of course, it was comforting to see that emotion conveyed in the story because it lets you know that someone else understands what you feel and has been there before. But again, this vignette will not have the same impact on everyone, and so it might be the other interactions or quotes or visuals from the episode. Whatever it may be, I think vignettes are identifiable even to those who aren't connected to the scene, and for a reason. Frasier's advice to the caller about letting go and embracing the life you have, it clearly isn't written from nowhere. It has purpose and heart. It's only here because the writer knew it was important to them. Perhaps this is what makes a vignette and subsequently what separates a good story from just any other. The power of the vignette is the power it has on the writer. And just remember, on your lonely nights, this mic will be your friend. You tell it all your secrets that you keep in deep within. Your fantasies, regrets, your happy moments, and your sins. And if he doesn't comprehend, at least he can pretend. That is one of my favorite lines from Jermaine Cole. Calling him Jermaine because he says on Sideline Story he wants his whole name spelled out. But that was a long time ago, so maybe his feelings have changed. Point is, this quote always stuck with me because I think it not only applies to songwriting, but all storytelling. There's this theme of intent behind the story being told, an emotional investment on behalf of the writer. Perhaps a vignette is most effective when it is written on those lonely nights, when it contains those secrets deep within. It is an exploration of ourselves. Through their stories, we see the meditations of the writer, their fears and hopes and longings and uncertainties, and we see our own reflected. The greatest vignettes are dreams of the writer's subconscious, mechanisms to answer the questions their logical mind cannot rationalize. Or not. It doesn't really seem like that's what James meant by vignette. But whatever it means, if you want to write a pilot, it's all about those vignettes.